And now for a high-powered panel of Metaverse heavyweights, SuperWorld's Hrish Lotlikar, Calamint Christopher Deschenes, and OnlyOne's Shing, InfiniteWorld's Euan Macdonald, and ArtWallet's Joel Dietz, led by Sensorium's Deputy CEO, Alex Blagirev.
Hello everyone, this is Alex. I'm the Deputy CEO of Sensorium Corporation, and we are here in LA on Blockchain Summit. We're going to run a very nice topic today, so please stay in line. So we'll run the future of human connection experience in the Metaverse, and we have really beautiful gentlemen here join us, and I will give a few minutes each of them to introduce them and their products. So please, we'll start from the Chris. Chris, please introduce yourself and your company.
Hi, Alex, and thank you for having me here. My name is Chris Deschenes. I'm the CEO at Calumet, and we are a platform, an NFT platform on the Tezos blockchain, and we're staying true to decentralization in the fact that we never custody, everything's on chain, and we keep very minuscule amounts on our own servers, and we're just focused on making sure that the artwork lives into the future, and like I said, staying true to blockchain technology.
You have so much paintings behind your back. Are you selling them on NFTs?
I actually bought those as NFTs, and you know, that came after I bought the NFTs. Those arrived in the mail. So I've got Sabette, Jake Andrews, Victoria West, and Kelsey J behind me right now. So,
wow, thanks you for the introduction, Chris. So please, Leon, that's your turn.
Hi guys, this is Leon, founder of OnlyOne. I have a less interesting background behind me. Nice gray wall. So OnlyOne is the first NFT-powered social platform built on Solana. We were one of the first 100 projects, and everyone here uses social media, right? And some of the times what we see and what not to see on social media is heavily determined by the algorithm, by these centralized platforms, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, whatever that may be. And also on the other hand, the creators, their income is heavily dependent on gatekeepers and third parties. Like if you want to make money on YouTube, you're always at risk of being demonetized. If you're on Instagram, you have to rely on third parties like merchandise sale, affiliate links, sponsored ads, and so on. So a decentralized social media is the dream, and Solana is where to build it.
Awesome. So please, Hrish, that is your part of the deal.
Yeah, thanks again for having me here. It's a pleasure to be in such an esteemed group on the panel. I'm the co-founder and CEO of SuperWorld. SuperWorld is a virtual world built on top of the real world that enables anyone to create, discover, and monetize anything, anywhere, and to allow anyone to own the world. And our mission is to build a better world and to empower our super citizens. And I'm excited to share our vision with you, and looking forward to working with our community to build SuperWorld.
Wow, awesome. So Joel, please tell us more about ArtWallet and your project.
Yeah, I founder of ArtWallet. We just exited to the Phantom Foundation. I guess we're now the largest sort of premier project there, kind of doing a layer 2 solution for the NFT space. And I also recently started a project called the Metaverse, which is a platform to build metaverses with a play-to-earn element. So you can basically develop and then sell your own metaverses.
Okay, Ewan, since you are here, please tell us about Sukko.
Sure. Thanks for having me here. I'm actually stepping in for Jonathan Lapchick, who's the CEO of Sukko, which is also the owner of InfiniteWorld. So I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at InfiniteWorld.com, and we essentially provide a complete solution for creating, managing NFTs, as well as an entire ecosystem that includes like a marketplace, and we're using the Hedera ledger to essentially mint our NFTs and manage them. But in addition to that, we're also creating utility experiences where we basically create and add value to NFTs through like games and through utilities all through this ecosystem. And the other part with Sukko is that we've also developed an NFC technology in connection with Avery Dennison. And essentially NFC is essentially a real world tag that allows you to essentially mint and associate and authenticate an NFT with a real world object.
Wow, awesome. So it looks like we here represent almost all angles of the blockchain doing the NFT. Like we do a Polkadot, Chris, Tazos, Leon, Solana, and others. So let's talk about Web 3.0 and the future of the human connection. So the first question goes to the Chris. I have some, sorry, I'm reading through the paper because my team asked me to write those questions because they really care about the panel. So what role do NFTs playing in transitioning into the Metaverse and Web 3.0?
So I guess NFTs are essential if you want to have Web 3.0 and you want to have a metaverse, because anything that can be bought or sold, whether it's the real world, whether it's the metaverse, it can be tokenized as an NFT, and they have to be true NFTs, in order to really qualify as something that can be bought or sold. So they shouldn't be able to be accessed by or influenced by outside sources. But I think it's absolutely, necessary that we have NFTs, because when you open this up to everybody, if you want to have Web 3.0, the whole point is to be decentralized. And if there's no way to sell goods, or if those goods are controlled by a central source or can be changed, then that kind of derails the whole Web 3.0. And when it comes to a metaverse being built in a decentralized fashion, you need people to be able to buy and sell back and forth and actually have ownership of the pieces that they're selling. So
thank you Chris. Joel, what do you think? So can we build the metaverse without the blockchain?
Yeah, when I talk about metaverse, I usually described as three parallel tracks. One is the sort of AR, VR technologies that's evolving. One is the sort of digital asset layer. And the other one is the research into our own brain chemistry, nootropics, biohacking, psychedelic research. And I think they're kind of very parallel tracks. Sometimes they kind of bridge over to each other and cross over. But they're all very valuable in pursuing in their own right. And they all sort of allow us to have a kind of bridge into the unseen world.
So I see. So Ewan, what do you think? What is the actual role of NFT should be in the metaverse?
Well, it's serving a number of things. I mean, again, the NFTs, it's an association of ownership, but it's also like when we talk about ownership in NFTs, it's important to realize that it's what the context is. So essentially, the idea of owning something in the metaverse is more like a license. So the NFT through the smart contract is actually determining what you can do with it and who actually owns the original content, and therefore the things like the copyright, and then what you can do with it. So you may have like an NFT, but it doesn't necessarily give you the copyright to then go off and print t-shirts with it in the physical or even the digital world. So NFTs, and again, it's the representation, and then it's the actual asset itself. So whether it's a digital or physical representation, is like, well, where is that asset? And this gets into, again, the decentralization and access to an actual digital asset, which is then immutable. So when we talk about both the ownership represented through the NFT and actually the asset itself, the intent is to decentralize both such that it can't ever be deleted or disassociated from yourself if you're the original owner.
So things like we are entering the new age. Leon, what do you think about that? So do you think the metaverse affect the way we impact or engage each other? And what do you think the new opportunities will bring the NFT with this case?
Yeah, first of all, I love Joel's definition about metaverse, because metaverse essentially means beyond our universe, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean the NFT world on Twitter. It means a lot more than that. So going further to like even neurochemistry and that, I love it. So I think, so I'll take the context as the NFT and like in the cryptocurrency space, right? So the theme is all about decentralization. Like metaverse simply means virtual environment in this case. And in the micro, I think we're already seeing a lot of big changes on how we interact on the internet. Like on Twitter, like you have all these anons, right? All these anonymous influencers and people, because of the way they can be anonymous on these virtual worlds, they can be fully voicing their opinion without caring much about repercussions, which is, it could be very productive and beautiful in one side, and sometimes it does get a little bit toxic. But I think what that really does is it helps us express ourselves even more, right? And on the macro, however, I think the way humans interact via the internet is evolving. Like since the early days, we have email and then we have Facebook. I think the next trend is going to be decentralization, because ultimately it's about the people. and we shouldn't be dictated by the rules set by the platform, but rather us as the community on the internet should really be the people behind like how to converse with other people. And NFT has a big role to play in this, I actually think, because for this entire ecosystem to work, I think creator economy is something that we cannot omit. And NFT brings in a massive opportunity for these individual content creators to have a way to monetize their social activities, whether it's through selling art or through other types of NFTs, right? Because NFTs aren't just collectibles. Like in some cases, in games, it's actually digital ownership of the items. In other platforms, there even in DeFi, maybe it represents some sort of contract. And on our platform, for example, it represents some connection between two people. So I think there's really a lot of different ways NFT can play a part. And the future of the metaverse is going to be about decentralization and in the ways how people interact.
Do you think that we can use NFT to attract liquidity to help projects be funded?
That's a very interesting question. So let me take a step back and like tell you, every day we have tons of NFT drops. I'm sure a lot of us here are aping into different NFTs. I just minted a few from some random projects. And a lot of the times these projects kind of just, they have these copy-paste roadmap and people buy the pump and whatever. But then a lot of this money that we put into these projects are kind of gone to waste, right? So what if those money are actually put to good use as a new way of funding new projects? So we're very used to ICOs or IEO, IDO, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So we kind of have
digital
this
bonds.
concept,
Yeah.
digital bonds, like whether or not those are financial instruments, I don't know, but like I think NFT can definitely be a way projects get funding to build something meaningful and productive for the for the metaverse. For example, Axie's Infinity. They did their ICO obviously by the Sky Mavis team, and instead of selling their Axie's token early, they could have pre-saled their Axie's NFT as a way of funding their project, build it, launch it, and then do their ICO with a much higher valuation. So I think that alone can be like a whole new instrument of fundraising after the whole trend of IXOs, right?
Okay, good point. We're gonna come back to this stuff. So Hrish, the question is to you. So since we talk about the definition of joy, I really also like the idea to split the metaverse about different technology streams. So let's talk about AR and VR. So basically, like one of the barriers that is not enough is first of all lack of helmets. So we see that about 5 million active users on Steam, right, exist at the moment. MAU, monthly active users on Steam and virtual reality. So you get any thoughts on this matter? How we can overcome these barriers of lack of users in VR? Maybe can we compensate it through the AR?
Yeah, I think that as we are continuing to develop the software and hardware as it comes to VR technology, and that's come a long way in the last few years with Oculus Quest and other devices that have really gotten to a lower price point, which is now much more achievable. And augmented reality, on the other hand, there's 3.5 billion mobile phones that are AR enabled, soon to be 6 billion mobile phones. And so the ability for users to get into augmented reality is much more accessible presently, and again growing very fast. But what we're going to see in the next year or two with the advent of hardware glasses that are going to provide XR, so the ability to do VR and AR. And I would see the major hardware companies come out with that. And at SuperWorld, we're very cross-platform. So again, we're open to whatever is happening on the AR side with mobile, because that's accessible now. But again, building out on VR, on audio, on haptics, on web, mobile, blockchain interoperability. I think, again, back to Joel's vision and, others in here about the metaverse, we are, focused on going anywhere that our customers, our super citizens are. And for us, that includes, AR and VR and MR.
Thanks for the answer. Do you believe that edge computing will accelerate the adoption of virtual reality?
Yes, again, there's a variety of technology inflection points that are accelerating, immersive content, AR, VR, etc. So, you have edge computing, as you mentioned, 5G, AR cloud. You have, the ability for us to, again, utilize the blockchain to enable users to monetize and transact, and that's also kind of getting more and more users on these platforms. Again, further enabling the investments that are happening in metaverse technologies, as you're seeing Facebook make some serious announcements. And so again, you have a perfect storm of technology, societal factors. COVID has been a big accelerant, as everyone knows, into the metaverse.
Yeah.
And so it's happening all at once.
So it's a very hot topic becomes, right? Like gamify DeFi, right?
Yeah.
So Chris, the question to you, can you tell us more about clean NFT and what's the plans for Tezos and Calamint in terms of the metaverses? Are you guys doing anything about that?
We are. That's actually our founders, Sandeep and Hrish, came from the Ethereum blockchain. They had been developing a lot on the Ethereum blockchain, but recognized that there was a need to use something more energy efficient. We on Tezos, it's liquid proof of stake, meaning that if you want to delegate, your funds are never locked. So when it comes to proof of work, it's basically a whole bunch of computers that have to have more and more computing power that are all guessing the answer as quickly as possible. So in order to do this efficiently, as the equation becomes harder and harder on the blockchain, it takes more energy and your rigs get bigger and bigger. And you want a smarter, faster computer so you can guess this number. On Tezos, it's proof of stake, basically meaning you put a bond up, you put something up if you're validating the chain. And if you're caught doing something malicious, then they can take your Tez, and it makes it not, they can take your bond. It makes it not worth it to try and do malicious attacks on the chain. And then of course there's direct rewards like baking, where you're rewarded for doing or verifying certain transactions on the chain. So proof of stake and proof of work. Proof of stake is about 2 million times more efficient than proof of work, and proof of work is just going to get more and more, reliant on energy as the equation becomes harder. That's not the case with Tezos, and that's one of the reasons that we moved to the Tezos ecosystem.
So it looks like a eco-friendly blockchain you're developing together with other projects, which is really, really big a part of ESG framework, which is running all over the world. So can we go to the next question, about the auctions, NFTs, and how the metaverse will allow the creators get their money? Ewan, so the question is to you. So do you think the auction marketplace is efficient instrument as it is now for selling the content and which can be created in metaverse, or there is other ways?
No, absolutely. I think it's going to continue to evolve, but the main thing is, again, through the smart contracts, is the relationship the original owner of the NFT has in perpetuity. So it's not just for the original sale and the ability to actually get more, especially if it's a unique or rare item than what they already have, but essentially it's something where through the residuals, even from a secondary sale, so it's not just the auction, it's the fact that in perpetuity, every time the item is sold, that they essentially have this ongoing payment based on a percentage, and that percentage can be defined in the smart contract when the NFT is minted. So all these types of tools which didn't exist before are really empowering creators to use NFTs and then what that represents in both the metaverse and in the real world.
Okay, so while executing delivering the Vicata to the world when it's happening several weeks ago in London, I met several artists and they got been complaining about marketplaces, that marketplaces have, I mean, existing one. I will not say the names, but they have no curating, and this is the big exposure was for those artists. So I'm really curious about meaning of Joel, what thinks Joel about the creating power in the centralized environment. So Joel, can you share your thoughts about like what is the role of curator for NFTs in the centralized economy for the metaverse, and who are those decentralized curators for their marketplaces, or will be they disrupted, or they should be stayed, or how it should work?
Yeah, this week I've actually spent pretty much the whole week in this obelisk here in Dubai, where a bunch of fine art people are discussing, how NFTs, fit into the future of the fine art space, including people who manage, multi-billion-dollar kind of art portfolios. And it's an interesting angle because there's a curation as far as fan, obviously influencers have their own following. What is the next apes or punk going to be? And then there's a curation that goes to what type of art pieces are going to retain value over, let's say, multiple decades. And particularly if you're representing intergenerational wealth, that's a very important consideration. As well as what kind of pricing dynamics as far as the introduction of the art piece into, let's say, an open marketplace, and the liquidity provisions actually lead to the price dynamics that allow for long-term appreciation and price stabilization, which may be different from the ones that allow NFTs to be the hot thing for the next 3 months, but then possibly depreciate rapidly. So I would say there's no science of this as of yet. The standard crypto dynamics for NFTs, I think, are actually often kind of the opposite of what you would want, or at least pretty different from what you would want for, like, let's say, fine art collectors as they're sort of picking up pieces. Besides the fact that there's a lot of, this is also true in the fine art market, but a lot of like wash trading and sort of non-transparency in the way that assets are kind of introduced to the market in the first place. So it presents a lot of problems. I am, spending quite a bit of time in trying to come up with elegant solutions, and I think curators, in some ways, are already decentralized in a way, because and it just really depends on the nature of the kind of marketplace and how it's sort of governed. But it's not so simple as like decentralized versus centralized, let's say. It's also just about the nature of art and the nature of things that have value over longer time periods.
I see. Thank you, Joel. So let's go get more details in this case. Leon, if you would kind of imagine about the centralized way of the distributing NFT, someone going to be rate those NFT and make rankings for them. Like if the NFT could be potentially the tool for liquidity, right? Providing liquidity for the project. Would you think will this invent a new form of DAO rating for NFT, or any old-fashioned instrument will be used same place like Fitch or Moody's could be rate NFTs that's very popular or not very popular and so on for developing of the metaverses?
Let me rephrase your question. I think you're trying to ask if right now we are seeing the trends of centralized platforms deciding on the rarities and the utility of the NFTs, and the future is going to be more DAO-oriented, where the community gets to be the creators and decisions maker for the NFT collection. Is that correct?
True, yes. And who's going to be how it will be managed in terms of what is more popular and less popular, or what is more expensive, less expensive, and is there any kind of rating, maybe social ratings, and that's going to be inventing of social tokens, or maybe another form of DAO for this from the angle of community and regulation?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of right now in the market. There's no shortage of NFT collections being launched, and the go-to strategy for them is to say that it's a DAO, and the holders of the NFT will become like some sort of a community that gets to vote and decide how to use the funding, and also what kind of events to drive the NFT demands, right? I feel like NFT market at the moment is heavily skewed towards the winner side, meaning it's really like a winner takes all market. If you look at the trading volume, I would say 80% of the trading volume happens at the top 5% of the NFT collection, right? And I think because of that, you have a lot of copycat projects, and ignoring all of that, right? I think the DAO projects like Degen Ape, for example, on Solana, is proving to be very successful. I bought a few Degen Apes, and I actually got invited to these like events in Hong Kong. Apparently, they have different chapters of Degen Apes communities around the world, and they would actually hang out in person, and they would have meetings and vote for what to do with the Degen Apes. Like,
Wow.
I didn't know there's there's actually a lot of work being done behind the scene for that project, and I'm not trying to shill them or anything. I think in terms of providing the, sorry, your second question was?
I was curious, like, we think it will be this kind of rating or this community affect the liquidity or fair value of NFT to bring the liquidity to the project?
Right.
If you're running like, if you are a bank in the traditional economy, the rating, if you're trying to issue a bond, this bond will be rated by the Fitch, Moody, or S&P, right? In terms of the creative industry, you are not a bank. You're probably a part of the metaverse. You want to attract resource to develop the metaverse. What do you think, if you using NFT to attract the resource, who will rate this NFT as a liquid or illiquid asset?
I see. I think NFT, ignoring the fractionalization, which might make it a security, I think it's innately very illiquid because of the nature of being non-fungible, right? And in terms of price setting and ratings, I think for certain collections right now, it is being determined by the mass market. Like it's slowly migrating out of the sort of crypto degen circle and going into the mainstream. Like especially, for example, in Hong Kong right now, last month there was a public auction by Sotheby's and Christie's for Bored Ape and CryptoPunk. And that actually raised a lot of attention from the mass markets, and that really got a lot of people, interested and more understanding of NFT market. And I think that would, in turn, in time, provide more liquidity for the NFT market, especially the ones with utility. I think personally, the future of NFT is going to be very utility driven. Collectible market is heavily saturated right now, and there will be more and more liquidity coming, but I think those will be heavily dependent on the utility of those NFTs.
I see. So, Hrish, you've been working for the concept of virtual land, right? Like, as am I correct, right? So, how do you see that's moving into the future, like, and how does it will be related with NFT? You see that's and it's the evolution step of the selling, just selling of the virtual land, or is there any other like waves of to do next steps for selling of the land, virtual land?
Yeah, sure. So, again, the virtual land is a way of enabling anyone in our ecosystem, as an example of what we're doing at SuperWorld, to allow them to become stakeholders of the platform and to get an ownership of the platform and to be able to participate in receiving a share of the economics that happen on the virtual land that they are owning and be able to trade that virtual land. And then on the first part of that, again, is the ability to enable anyone, whether they have virtual land or not, to create, discover, and monetize anything anywhere. And so what you have is the ability for some people to, again, without buying virtual land, to be able to do anything they want in SuperWorld, build businesses, to create content, to discover content, and again, to buy and monetize content. And then others who want to utilize, locational places as well, and be able to kind of become stakeholders there and to help, accrete value to those places, just as you would do in the physical world. If you, want to get involved in a city, you might buy a house or a commercial property, and now you're part of the economy. Similarly here in SuperWorld, virtual land is a way of becoming a stakeholder on the platform. And again, there's decentralized finance involved there. I started off my career in real estate investment banking, and the real estate market is a very big part of the overall financial market. And similarly, with the ability in SuperWorld to monetize an infinite amount of times in any location because of the utilization of AR and VR and, you know, filters on top of the world, I would guess that the virtual land ecosystem would definitely become bigger than the physical land ecosystem over some time. So it's a long time to come, but we've been moving pretty fast. And I think the whole market is moving fast in terms of NFTs and crypto.
I see. So it's pretty fun to sell virtual land in augmented reality, like Trafalgar Square, and put their advertising performance and the Trafalgar Square, for example, and everyone will be enjoyed. If you own this land, everyone's paying to you, right? If they're running the stage. So Chris, in terms of this whole things about the NFT auctions, do you see any limitations which exist at the moment?
Limitations. Well, when I first entered the space, I noticed that the select few, I can't remember who mentioned it earlier, the select few were the ones that were actually determining who sold, what was of value. And that's one of the problems that comes up when you talk about having a group assign value. It's needed, but how do we do that and stay true to being decentralized and still allow artists from anywhere that maybe their artwork is better than you know, people selling for hundreds of thousands? How do we give everybody an equal shot? And you know, when it comes to doing NFTs as a marketplace, I think a lot of people cut corners, and they do things the easy way. A lot of platforms will custody a piece, which again goes away from being decentralized. One of the beautiful parts about our contracts at Calumet is that you know, we use the FA2 token standard, and with the FA2 token standard, if we use the entire you know, code, we don't have to custody anything. We can say, hey, this is up for auction, but it can't be transferred, and that's it's written into the token contract. So we never take control of anything, and you know, just stay true to blockchain. I think a lot of people in this space right now are taking shortcuts to get it done quickly, running their own servers, all that, to just get something out and make money as quickly as possible. But at Calumet, you know, we're focused on doing things the right way, not the easy way. It's a little bit slower, but you know, we're actually making leaps and bounds in progress. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, have you heard about upgradable NFTs?
I have, and I guess when it comes to an upgradable NFT, like I said, an NFT is supposed to be non-fungible. It's supposed to, you know, if I can buy an NFT that can change from an outside source, then maybe I wake up in a week, a month, a year, 10 years, and this NFT that I spent quite a bit of money on, that website goes down and that NFT becomes just obsolete. But what's the point in having it? So we're focused on making art that's meant to last. So when it comes to upgradability, there's ways to do it. If something levels up, it needs to be self-contained. You can send that NFT and get a new one that you can level up again, or you can change in that way. But there's a right way to do it, and there's the easy way. So we're just hoping that this space, you know, really recognizes that there are different ways. It might take some more thought and some more code, but it's going to be worth it in the long run.
I see. So following this line, Ewan, so do you think the NFT is a way to represent yourself in the digital environment, not just about as a collector, but maybe as a person who is trying to be through this NFT represented by himself, and it's more just about value? Maybe it's a new part of your digital identity.
That's a complex question. Possibly. I mean, but to Chris's point, I mean, because people change, and even their avatars that represent them in the metaverse are going to change and evolve. So it really comes down to a very specific type of protocol that allows to keep track of those changes. And again, because people are in terms of their functionality, what they can and can't do, I think it'd be hard to represent a person or even their complete unique avatar as an NFT, but let's see. I mean, I think it's one of those things which could evolve. But the important thing is also about ownership. That's the relationship between an individual in terms of their ID and the NFT is something that needs to be tracked. So essentially making an NFT to NFT relationship and how that evolves is something which I think still requires some work. But that's an interesting concept.
Okay, so Joel, so you are as a representative of the art industry. Can you please say your personal opinion? Because this is always the conflict between the investor and as a creator. Do you think the NFT is a part of your digital representation yourself, or is just the instrument getting your money to get new stuff? Or
yeah, I think a lot of people who think of NFTs as art, even though I advise fine art people all the time, are kind of missing the point. The NFT industry really got kicking with CryptoKitties, and it's basically a speculative game around collectibles, and a game basically that in which you breed things and all this other stuff. There's a limited edition you get in before, and a little bit free for all as far as that goes. So I do appreciate the virtual world. I do appreciate the fact that some fine art people are kind of being onboarded, and the technology behind digital assets in general is something that I've been an advocate for going back as far as 2013. So I'm certainly happy that that process is happening. But NFT industry as a whole is really built around speculative games. I think Axie is another perfect example of that. The number of people from the cryptocurrency that play Axie is actually a very limited subset of the people who buy Axies and trade them and kind of breed them and buy the Axie token, and that's really kind of where the big pump is happening from, so to speak. And I don't have a problem with that per se, so long as people understand what's really going on. But I do believe some people are kind of misrepresenting the state of the industry.
Okay, so what do you think about time limit NFTs? When the NFTs have a valid date after which you cannot transfer it to anyone, and it's like stays for until the timeline with like a museum or yourself, so no one else can get your digital representation. Do you think it's worth of it for the industry, or maybe other attributes that can limit NFT, like location-based limitation or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, that was the idea behind ArtWallet, was kind of paywalled NFTs, where some of the content you get is only behind the NFT after you purchase it, kind of like a OnlyFans or Spotify model. I think things that disappear after time are interesting. I had a concept before that was related, because I do a lot of Burning Man installation art, and in Burning Man, a lot of the stuff burns. It's gone after you build it. But I had a concept before that was basic, and I even wrote up the whole project spec. If someone wants to run with it, I'll help finance it. I never found a good team to deliver on it. But basically, it involved a blueprint where you just post the NFT as a blueprint, and depending on how much money goes into it, is the size at which it's produced, basically. So it could be like a tiny little head, that's this big, or it could be a head the size of Mount Rushmore or mountain, if someone wants to put a couple $1 million, into making this art piece. And it was delivered at a festival, and it could also be burned, but then you could capture it in a video feed and then issue a burn NFT. So then in that case, at some point, it's conceivable that the burn NFT would actually be worth more than the original, which is kind of a little bit of a mind fuck, so to speak. But this world is crazy, so it's good.
Yeah, you got the point. So I actually that's what I was curious for.
Yeah.
And Leon, so the question is like to you. So if people can create those NFTs with like time limit or anything like limit, and they we're going now 5 minutes end of this discussion. So I got a few more questions asking you guys, because I think we have very rich, very interesting topics. So if we can create those NFTs that can be limited with some of the attributes like time or location or anything like that, that's mean they will disrupt the value of economic value of itself, because you cannot use it after this time. Of course, Leon, what do you think about that? If you invest money, will you invest money in the NFT which will disappear after some period of time, or do you think it's more sort of useful or brings value as you are as a last owner of the NFT? You think it's kind of a new age?
I think that could be a very interesting idea. It really depends on how you shape that context, right? Like there are investment in vehicles where there's a time limit. Like there are contracts with an expiry date, and people will still put money in it. So I think it really depends on the whole context and not just tunnel visioning into the time limit factor. But I'm interested in the idea of putting some kind of a limit or some kind of a gate around an NFT. And one of the idea that we were thinking about on OnlyOne is to have basically unlockable NFTs, meaning you have to pay to unlock it. And here's the idea, and I love any feedback. So I would post a NFT that says, "Here's my biggest portfolio holding," and you, Alexi, you would buy this NFT, and then you can see it. So let's say it says that I'm holding a lot of Solana, and then Joel decided he wants to see this too, but he doesn't want to, pay a lot of money to buy the NFT. They can pay a small fee to unlock the NFT, and the unlocking fee will be split between Alexi and me, the original creator. So that's like a OnlyFans, but with a NFT twist.
I like the idea. We should definitely try. I like the idea. So in Vakato, we did kind of thing about time limit NFT. And the investors split. One part of the investors said, "Hey, we're going to lose the money, Alex. It's a very bad thing." And the other part said, "Wow, it's super cool. I'm going to be the last one who owns it. So no one can steal my representation of myself anymore." And that was super exciting thing for them. And I was really, really shocked. That's why I actually want to ask Hrish. Hrish, it looks like we are living the industrial age, and we passing across line of post-industrial age where the money is not so important for everyone. What do you think? How it's all will deal with economic environment and this thing? If what people will care about NFT, if not money, then what? What will be the value for them in terms of the connection each other, in terms of the metaverse? What they will be looking for?
Yeah, I think we're, again, enabling the strong birth of communities with the blockchain technologies that we're leveraging in NFTs. And we're seeing that over the last 10 years, how that's developing, whether your community is Bitcoin or Ethereum or, social tokens that are now gaining more prominence. I think we're bonding together around creativity. I think as machine learning and AI, take away a lot of the kind of commoditized types of work, I think human creativity is what's being spurred by that. And, again, we're able to utilize technologies like AR, VR, NFT technology to really create compelling, creative endeavors, experiences that we can connect with each other. And again, that's kind of what separates, I think, humanity from machines. And I think that you're going to see more and more of that in platforms, such as what we're doing at SuperWorld and others. I think are helping human creativity flourish. And so that's what I'm really hoping for. Again, and bringing alignment to those initiatives and incentives so we can actually do things that are very positive for the world because it's much needed. So that's what we're focused on.
Awesome. So, well, sounds really cool. I like the idea. So that's thank you, gentlemen, for the very nice discussion. I hope you'll enjoy this and show it to your colleagues, friends, and moms. So we've been here for the future of human connection. So please stay online. Going to be next session. I hope you see everyone in LA or any part of the world. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, everyone.
And be good.
Thank you, Alex.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.